Guys, I want to know, when the lights go out, can you rely on a $300 generator to save you? Whether that's a hurricane, a natural disaster, a terrorist attack, or just a bad storm and a tree fell down. Let's find out. In front of me is the Siokiuu 2500 watt inverter generator. I picked this up on Amazon at a price of $319. And guys, really the reason I picked this up is I just want to know, will this be sufficient to help you out during a natural disaster, either a hurricane, an ice storm, a snowstorm, or even just your everyday outage from a tree falling, or even something as insidious as a terrorist attack? So let's just take a look at the unit, and I'm going to explain its basic function, but then we're going to get right into testing it, because I want to know what is the power that's coming out of it, what can it actually power, does it start up on one pole, how does it work, how is the operation of it, and is this something I can recommend to you? So just starting right here on the side, we've got the on-off choke switch. So this has a little detent in here. You could feel when it's in the choke position versus on versus off. We've got the starter handle right here. No part of this side comes off. Moving to the front of the generator, we've got the Eco on-off switch, followed by two USB-A's. I would have liked to have seen a USB-C, but I suppose it's better than nothing. We do have a standard car cigarette lighter. We've got the overload reset button, standard Edison outlet, another reset, and then your parallel connection, as well as a grounding lug. It also looks like the air intake is right here in the front. Coming around to the side of the unit, this is where I took the side cover off to fill it with oil, and I will open this up to show you the inside. But it's fairly simple. You just unscrew these two screws, and then you pull here, and you actually have to pull really hard because there's a little indent here and here that they're kind of held in by pressure. So when you're pulling this open, you're not going to break it, just pull it pretty hard. And up at the top here, we also have a little cover that can be removed so you can access the spark plug boot, which is nicely tucked in there, and it's nicely insulated all along the side here, which I presume is the tank, because we do have a fuel gauge right on top. So coming around to the side here, I just want to show you real quick the inside of the unit and how to open the cover up, because I initially was a little unclear on how to take this off. Now there are two screws, and like I said, when you take the two screws out and you go to pull this cover off, it actually makes you think that it's held on by some additional screws, but it is not. It's actually just some pressure indents that are holding this in. So you got to give it a good yank to get it off. There you go. And just to show you on the camera here, this little knob right here and another knob on the bottom go into these 2 points. So that is what's making this nice and snug in there. Okay, now that we've got the cover off, I just want to point out that everything is really nice in here, nice and clean, nice and well made. I like that all the cables have a nice wrap around them. Everything is tight. I don't see anything loose that's going to vibrate and potentially cause any wear onto any of the cables. Right over here, this is your oil fill, the dipstick, and the drain. So when you unscrew this, you can obviously just tilt the generator to pour the oil out. You can also check the dipstick. This is nice and full. I filled it off camera. It does not tell you in the owner's manual how much oil it takes, but it looks like it took about 350, a little over 350 milliliters of oil, in case you're wondering. And I put 10W30 in there. Everything else in here is pretty uneventful. I do want to point out one thing. If you're looking at the carburetor, and this is the carburetor, you're going to see towards the bottom there's a little brass or copper fitting here, and there's a tiny little screw with a spring. I've pointed this out in other videos. What this is if you loosen this screw on this tube that's attached to that little brass fitting, it's going to allow any gasoline that's stuck in the float bowl to drain out. So this is really important, guys. I cannot stress this enough. When you're going to put this generator away for the winter or for storage or when you're done using it, what I really suggest you do is let all the fuel burn out. Just let the generator run until it's empty, and then take the side cover off, loosen this screw right here. You're going to see a little bit of excess fuel come down this clear tube, and it's going to go all the way down here, and it's going to drain out on the bottom. You're going to get maybe a teaspoon or a tablespoon full of fuel out there, and then you can tighten the screw and put the generator away. That's really going to save you the next time you go to start this, because you will not have old fuel stuck in the carburetor. Now, in case you're wondering to put the cover back on, you just want to line up these two little tabs right here with the little indents in the generator. And then you're just going to flex it towards the front. You're going to push fairly hard on those two spots to kind of get them to catch. And then you're just going to tighten up these two screws. Okay, let's add a little bit of fuel to this let's get it started up, and then I want to get the decibel meter out here, and I want to see kind of what we're dealing with in terms of noise level. I don't want to put a lot of fuel in, but I do want to put enough that we can do some load testing on this. So that should be enough. Let's get that cap on there. Vent switch is on. Got this on choke. Now, obviously, I just added fuel, so this may take a couple of starts. Okay, I just wanted to adjust the camera angle. We're on choke. Let's see how this starts. It started right up, first pull, and it's actually fairly quiet. Now, eco mode is not on right now, so you're hearing it at full throttle. Let's get the decibel meter out and measure full throttle and then eco mode. Okay, so I am now standing 20 feet away from the generator with the exhaust pointing out to the side, and the generator is on concrete, so that may or may not hurt the decibel reading. But let's take a look. I'm going to stop talking and let's look at the meter. It's giving us about a 60 decibel reading. It was fluctuating between 59 and 60. I locked it in at 60. In case you're wondering, it's 75 degrees outside. Let's put eco mode on now and see what kind of a difference that makes. Now I'm actually going to put eco mode on with you here so you can actually hear it throttle down. That actually did lower the sound significantly. Let's see what kind of a difference we get on the meter. We're getting about 53, 54. That was a pretty significant drop in decibel reading right there. And if you're able to run this on eco mode, if your load does not require for you to be on full open throttle, you're actually going to be nice and quiet. Okay, so I've got an extension cord hooked up. I've got this giant reel hooked up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug the kilowatt meter into the reel, start the generator up, and then I'm going to pull this reel over to my garage because I actually want to plug in my large air compressor and see if this can power the air compressor. So let's go ahead and get this started right back up. It was warm, so I'm just going to put it on and skip choke. Came right back online. And we've got eco mode on. Let's pull the reel over so we can look at the kilowatt meter. Hopefully you can see that we're getting 122.9, so that's perfect. All right, let's go ahead and extend this reel all the way out to the garage, and let's try the air compressor. And I'm going to keep it on eco mode, so let's see what happens. So we're in the garage, and I'm going to plug in my very large Husky air compressor. This is I think it's a 20-gallon air compressor. So basically, I've plugged it into the reel here, into the kilowatt meter, and let me just adjust the angle so we can see, you know, what kind of power we're pulling, and if this dips, and it probably will because I have eco mode on. So let's start the compressor, then we'll cycle through and see how much power it's pulling. Okay, so I think that actually dipped down quite a lot. And we are pulling 1,225 watts. So that's a lot of power being pulled. While that's running, let's go back over to the generator and see if it's come up off of eco mode. Okay, so we have definitely come up from eco mode, but it did power that compressor. I probably should not have had this on eco mode, but I knew that going into it. I am glad that it did not turn off completely, that it was able to ramp up. Although, like I said, it did start the compressor kind of slow, so that's not something I would want to do on a regular basis. And we're now pulling even more power at 1,430 watts. Okay, so I brought out a couple of items that I want to show the generator powering. And we have a 2-gallon air compressor, because you may use something like this on a job site and have the generator powering it. Next we have a scroll saw, and then finally we have a space heater. Now the heater you probably would not use on a job site, but you definitely would use an air compressor and a scroll saw. So I'm going to see if the generator can power each of these items individually, and then I want to try the air compressor with the saw at the same time. The space heater takes a lot of power. That's 1,500 watts, so we'll test that on its own. So let's go ahead and get the generator started, and then we're going to plug in the air compressor. If that runs, we're going to take that off, plug in the space heater, take that off, and then plug in the scroll saw. Then we'll go back to the air compressor and the scroll saw at the same time. Okay, so we've got the generator powered on. Let's just let it idle up and smooth out. We're going to go ahead and plug in the air compressor. And let's see how it does with it. And here we go. Perfect. I don't know if you can hear that on the camera, but the air compressor came right on. And you know what? Let's try the scroll saw at the same time right now while the air compressor is being powered. Because again, this is something that you would definitely want to do on a job site with a generator like this. Here we go. Look at that. Powering the scroll saw and the air compressor at the same time. No issues at all. Not going into overload. Plenty of power. Very, very happy with that performance. So now I'm going to go ahead and unplug the scroll saw. I'm going to turn off the air compressor. And we're going to try the highest load of everything, which is the space heater, which can get up to 1500 watts. That's plugged in. First switch on here is going to be fan, then it's going to be low, and then it's going to be high. So we're on fan. As I switch to low, you'll probably hear it, adjust. There we are on low. Let's try high. Works perfect. No overload lights, no conditions. It's working as expected. I can't complain, guys. I think this really shows the power of this unit, that it can power both of these tools at the same time and this 1500 watt space heater separately. So this did perform as I expected, and I am pleased with it. If I knew that I was going to be powering that compressor or heavy duty, induction motor type loads, I would not have this on eco mode. I'd have it just, on full open throttle, let it do its thing. I was very happy that it did not trip out. It did handle the surge. I actually played this one more time off camera, and that surge was significantly over what this was rated for, and it still maintained the load. So I was very happy about that. And the reason I showed you that light bulb was because I want to kind of prove a point. I think a lot of people believe that they need a very large generator in an emergency. And what I'm trying to show you here today is that for about $300, $319, I'll post a link to this on Amazon, you can get a generator that can power all the lights in your house, your fridge, your freezer, your television, your laptop, your phone chargers, the internet, Wi-Fi, and a couple of creature conveniences. And I really believe that for a lot of people, that's probably all that you need. Now, yes, this will not power your whole house. This will not do the well pump, the dishwasher, the dryer, the electric hot water heater, the central air, probably even your heat. But in a true crisis, if your option is nothing, or the fridge, the lights, the television, communication, phone chargers, I think you're going to be well served with a generator like this that does not break the bank, that is efficient, that is very quiet, as you saw in the decibel meter, and quite frankly, it's not a heavy unit. This is about 40 or so pounds, maybe a little bit more, but it's not really heavy. You can tuck this in the corner of your garage or in a shed and know that when you need this, it's going to handle your dilemma and it's going to perform. And I put this extension cord reel here on the table because I picked this up at Costco. I think I paid roughly $30 for this reel. I love this thing because it coils up really nice and neat, and I store it in the garage next to the generator, and I know that when I need the generator, I've got the extension cord right next to it. Guys, ask any questions you have and I'll do my best to answer. I actually answer all questions. This generator is, to me, brand new. I found it on Amazon. I took a chance, and I think my testing has shown that the chance seems to have paid off. Now I'm going to do some more testing with this. I'm going to change the oil. I'm going to really check the runtime because it's not really clear to me, but if I had to estimate, I would say the runtime on this, on a full tank of fuel, is probably somewhere around 6 to 8 hours. If you could do me a favor, if this was helpful, if you could like and subscribe, because then it will promote this to other preppers that may be interested in a generator or may not be sure of what their need is. And when they realize that you can buy a generator for roughly $300 that can run the essentials, it really might serve them and their family. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.